Alpaca Direct, and I'm happy to be here with you this morning. And today we're going to be talking about how to keep those edges straight and beautiful in both knit and crochet. So first thing I wanted to talk about is we have prizes every week, and the way that you enter to win prizes is to post comments in the comment section and let us know what you're working on. And we totally love sharing and having you share with us so that we can teach our fellow knitters and crocheters our little ins and outs of things that we've learned and we enjoy. So anyways, all right. And the prize for today is going to be for some of this lovely classic alpaca tweed. And this is 100% baby alpaca. It's beautiful. It's called by the Alpaca Yarn Company, and that'll be the prize for today. So I'm very excited about that. I have been working on these projects. They're called by Malia, and it's Rebecca Langford. And I have been working on my crochet. I'm always learning to improve my skills. So this week what I did is I did this cowl. It's a little bit different than hers, of course. Well, I changed it up a little bit. If you look at the original pattern, it'll look a little different. But anyways, I always make the patterns my own, and I very rarely follow a pattern as written. I usually change something. So I wanted to show you these Malia wristers. I have just made one. I haven't made the other one yet. These are all projects that I've been working on this week. Can you see that, Jim? Mm-hmm. And it's using a large bean stitch. And then they also use a half double crochet, and then they knit into, you crochet into the third loop, and it gets this knit like edging here, which I find beautiful. So that was really fun. It was a new thing for me to learn. And then I made these nice little boot cuffs. I love wearing boot cuffs in the winter, and the reason why I love them, it gets very cold here, and if you put these in the top of your boots, air is not allowed to go down in your boot, and your feet actually stay much warmer. I'm always surprised at how much warmer I am with boot cuffs on. So I really like those. Those matched. And you know, last week we were talking about sets, and so these are one of the set projects that I'm working on. And this is, I'll show you what my Malia cowl looks like. And again, it's using the half double crochet, and you knit in the third loop of it.
Can you turn it this way?
This way?
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
There you go. It's pretty cool. I love Rebecca Langford patterns. They were very easy to understand, and it was a joy to knit. Also, I wanted to let you know that in the store, we often get new products that are stocked up, and I wanted to let you know that we do have a new supply of Halo, and this is a hand-painted baby alpaca yarn, and I love carrying it with other yarns. It adds a little color to your projects, and it adds that halo to it, and the price is very reasonable for this type of yarn. It's wonderful. And then again, the prize for today is this classic alpaca tweed, and we just got a new stock of this in too, as well as we're getting ready going into winter pretty soon here, and we'll need to have our alpaca projects knit or crocheted up so that we have them to wear when it gets really cold. So also, this last week, our winner won.
Oh, there's a question. Let's go back to the the white Malia.
The Malia?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were saying, what kind of stitch is it?
Oh, it's called a large bean stitch, and it was really fun. You just yarn over and bring the stitch, bring it through, and then do it 4 times in a row, and then you finish it off with a single slip stitch. It's super easy, and she has tutorials on how to do it. So a novice crocheter like myself was able to get right through it. And this is, I'm just starting another one of these, the mitts in the Malia pattern, and I just started it very last thing this morning, and you can see the knit stitch ridge starting to form there, and I wanted to show you how that was done. Also, I had this stitch marker here because it's holding my project so that it doesn't come out and start taking stitches off. You know, the yarn oftentimes, that's a little trick that I do to keep my project intact until I get back to it. And then I just have this crochet hook. It's not actually the size that I'm using for this project, but I wanted to show you that third stitch that creates these knit-like stitches on the top of your crochet here. And it's doing, you half double crochet, and then when you come back on the next row, let me get this on here. If you see, this creates a third stitch right here. And this needle's much larger than what I was crocheting with. So you would just single crochet right there, and it gives you these knit stitches. And so that's pretty cool. Also, while we're talking about stitch markers, when you're looking at your crochet stitches, so this is an individual crochet stitch right there. And if you're going to mark that particular stitch, say you're going to be doing increasing right there, you would mark the horseshoe looking part of it right in the back. So this loop right here identifies that stitch. That's always important to know when you're crocheting. So when I use my stitch markers, I would put my stitch marker here, and then I know when I get there that I actually am identifying that particular stitch. Okay? So that was a very useful thing for me to learn, so I'm just passing that on to you. Also, this last week I was working on my zigzag projects. You know how I was doing 3 different things with the zigzag cowl. It was originally the zigzag scarf. So this was the original scarf, and it's using this wonderful yarn called Milli Calori, and it's 100% superwash merino wool. And then there's Milli Calori Luxe that has stellina in it, which is actually the sparkly stuff that you see. And you knit back and forth with one color, then you drop that strand, pick up the new strand, knit back and forth with the other color, and it gives you these zigzag stripes. So what I did is I started making this cowl. Okay, here's my cowl. It's coming along nicely. And what I'm doing is I tried to maintain the pattern for this scarf. The whole pattern is knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 4, knit front and back. And you just do that over and over, and when you turn your scarf, you do the same thing. Knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 4, knit front and back. Okay, so on this cowl, I did knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 4, knit front and back, and then on the next round what I did is I purl 5, purl 2 together, purl front and back. Okay, so anyways, what it did is because the increases are always in the round and they land on the same side, it's starting to go to the left. You can see it going to the left, but I wanted to maintain this exact pattern except for change it on the second round with purl stitches, so it was still a very easy pattern to follow. And I actually don't mind the fact that it actually leans to the left like that. I think it adds some sort of, I don't know, it's pretty, a little something special. And another thing that I did with this pattern is I started out with a number 6 needle, did 4 inches of it, changed to a number 7 needle, 4 inches. Now I'm on a number 8, and I'm not quite at 4 inches, and I still have quite a bit of yarn left, and I may go to a number 9 and do 4 inches, or however much yarn I have left. I'm going to use all the yarn. But what that's going to do for me is, instead of having a cowl that's just bunched up in a straight bunched up thing, it'll actually flare out at the bottom, so you almost get a little capelet type effect, which I thought would be pretty cool. So I will show you that as I'm going along so you can see what it looks like when it's completed. And I also have some, I think they're going to be mittens that have this same exact pattern on the edge, and I have not been working on those this week because I was working on my crochet. But as I'm going along, and when I get them finished, I will show them to you so you can see what they look like, because they're pretty cool. So today, I made these little swatches for us to look at. So when you're wanting to keep straight edges and different things that you have in mind, stockinette stitch, if you use Garter, which is knit every row, you get these bumpy things, and that's made by 2 rows of knitting. And what that does is keeping, if I just had straight stockinette on the bottom, it would curl and look not straight. It wouldn't look great. But here is an instance where this stockinette was knit back and forth. I maintained that stockinette by knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row. That's how you get your stockinette when you're knitting flat, right? So what this does, and Megan Jones uses it in one of her patterns, it actually curls on the edge, which is very handy when you're wanting to carry your floats or your different colors of yarn up the side, because it actually hides it behind that little curled edge. See how this is curling here? Even though it's blocked, it's kind of curling, and that can be handy. You can use it as a tool. So keep that in your toolbox as something to use. Now this second one, it's funny, on some of these, I was so tired by the time I was doing this. Yeah, I was kind of flubbing it up. But anyways, this is straight garter stitch on the edge. And that actually looks pretty nice. You'll almost always see garter stitch is used very often with shawls and different things like that, because what it does is it keeps your stockinette stitch from curling on the edge. So in all these shawl patterns and stuff where they're using garter stitch on the edge, that's what they're using it for, so your patterns are straight and smooth. Okay, now this third example is where I slipped the last 2 stitches of every row, and that's purlwise with yarn in front. So this is a 2-stitch slipped edge and a little garter stitch next to it. And that works very effective when you want that defined edge. And I think it's pretty cool too. And you can even slip 1 stitch. You can slip 3 stitches. You can slip whatever you want to slip. And the more stitches that you slip, the bigger your rolled edge is going to be. But it's kind of handy, and that can be used for on the edge of slippers or what have you. And it's pretty cool. But do you see those edges? And then the last one that I was going to show you is a slip stitch edge using ribbing as well on the edge. And that gives you a very structured, defined edge. Do you see that? It's very structured. And I used that on the baby blanket that I posted for all of you, and the pattern for that is on www.alpacadirect.com. And that was, what was the name of the baby blanket pattern? It's on, well, I'll have Kathleen post it for you so that she can show you about that. But that has the edges that I'm talking about right now. So that's pretty cool. So those are a few ways that you can use to keep those edges looking lovely, and keep those in mind when you see different knitting patterns. Now, if you see a knitting pattern and it doesn't tell you to slip the stitch, the last stitch of every row, then just add 2 stitches when you're casting on and slip, make your own, do it, and it'll look lovely.
There was a question about how do they get the prize for that?
Oh, how do you get this prize?
How do they enter to be in the contest?
Oh yes, okay. So the way that you enter for these contests, every week we have a new little something that we're giving away. And you tell us, you post your project and let us know what you're working on, where you're from, what you enjoy, anything like that, and you'll be entered to win the contest. And then we just randomly pick the winner either the night before, Monday night, or first thing Tuesday morning, so that you can get a chance to win. Anyone who posts even right up to the end can have a chance to win. So that's how you do it. You just post in the comment section, you tell us what you enjoy, and you let us know what you're working on. So today, this is the prize for today. It's called Classic Alpaca Tweed, and it's 100% baby alpaca yarn, and it's by the Alpaca Yarn Company, and it's a lovely yarn. And I'm doing a Mallee cowl out of mine, and this is the top part of the hand. Let me show you on my other one here.
So they had a question to
Sure.
post. Do they post in this thread or on the wall? And the answer is on the thread.
It's
Just
on
in
the thread.
Yeah.
Okay, so post on the thread as you're going along, and that's great. So on these Mallee mitts that are crocheted, I'm doing it out of this. Do you see how it's starting? I have my first little section. Oh my gosh, this is lovely yarn. I love the tweed effect. It's not over the top. Some companies, when they do tweed, they almost make it look like not good. But this one is tastefully done in my opinion. I really like it. So I'm hoping that you'll enjoy it too.
There's another question. What's a thread? So just post on the video itself.
It posts on the actual video itself, the YouTube video itself, okay?
Or
the
Facebook
Live, sorry. All right. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is in crochet. And I did a few things here. What I did here is on the Malia pattern, it tells you to cast on so many stitches, and then you skip your chain stitch and you go ahead and crochet into the bottom here. And I did that for a while. Then I went along here and I was doing the double crochet, and I was doing your this was where it's eliminate the chain 3 and do the actual double crochet. They show you how to do it without having a chain 3 in there, and that's where you take your crochet hook and you, let me see if I can show you on here. So you would take your crochet hook, one second, I'm looking for putting my crochet hook on. I want my working yarn toward me. And you would just make it about the size of a double crochet, and then you go around and you go, one second here, you gotta get a yarn over. And then you would bring that through, yarn over again, and bring it through. And it would be like that. And that takes the place of double crochet. And then you would go ahead and start your double crochet into the very next stitch. Okay, so that's how you do that. And I did that for a while, and it looked okay. I thought that it looked okay. It looks pretty even.
It? Can you turn it this way?
It's right here.
Yeah.
These ones right here, these edges. That one, that one. And then up on this third one, what did I do? On the third one, right. I did the chain 2 and then the half double crochet in the first. I was working on the chain 2 and the half double crochet in the first. And that looks pretty straight.
Can you turn that again? Yeah, there.
And then on this one up here, and we're counting those. Also, of course, when you're doing your stitches, you have to make sure you maintain your stitch count. And I had 12 stitches, so I would go 3, 6, 9, 12. I would count after I was done, because if I didn't have the correct stitch count, then how can I keep it straight on the edges? Right? Do you see? 3, 6, 9, 12. So you just keep counting, and you always count, and make sure your stitches are correct. So I really liked, I personally, when I was doing all this experimentation about how to make my edges look good, whenever they asked me to skip a space, it left a hole. And so I don't know that I liked it when they asked me to skip a space. It didn't look as good to me. What I found is Sorella. It can be found on YouTube. And with the half double crochet, if I chain 2, and then I would turn, and then I would half double crochet in the very first stitch, and then half double crochet across the row and into the last half double crochet, and do not half double crochet into the chain stitch. And that I really liked. I really liked Sorella's one. And then also I like Maggie's crochet. And Maggie, what she did is, instead of a chain 3, she used 1 chain, then whatever stitch she was going to do right into that same stitch. And it created a really nice smooth edge. So if you look at Maggie's Crochet on YouTube, I really found her method helpful, and I and thought the edges looked really nice on hers. And that's what I did. I used Sorella's techniques and I used Maggie's techniques on these to make the edges. And in the very beginning there was no technique used and the edge looks funky, but as you see it coming up here, it's very clean. So I would use those techniques. And if you can avoid skipping stitches on the edge, because as I said, when I did it, I don't know if you all will have the same experience that I did, but I felt like it left holes when I skipped stitches. So that was my what I learned from this week, and on how to keep our edges on our projects looking beautiful.
They want to know about the winner for last week too.
Yes, the winner for this last week was Jane Hall. Jane Hall won this lovely Manos del Uruguay, and it's called Grande, and this is a hand-painted 100% merino superwash yarn. Very beautiful. And so Jane, if you can give us your shipping address, we can go ahead and get your yarn out in the mail. You'll love it. It's the teal colorway, and I chose it because it's one of my favorite colors. So I hope that you all have a great week, and please make sure to use some of the techniques that I talked about from Sorella and from Maggie's Crochet, and enjoy your knitting and crochet. And I will be talking to you next week, and next week we will be talking about the 5 questions or questions that people never want to ask when they're knitting and crocheting. So we'll be talking about some subjects that most people are not going to ask when they're knitting and crocheting. So you have a great week, and we will see you next week, Tuesday, 9:30 a.m.